We saw in our last video that single or pairs or trios of visionary designers can distinguish themselves in the field of corporate identity design. There are also big branding consulting firms and larger design studios that have executed many of the brands we recognize today. Typically, there are many designers at work in these larger firms, and often their work is a team endeavor instead of the work of a single or a small group of principals. Let's see what they've done. Many of the identities of the biggest brand agencies have withstood the test of time and were kept for decades, while other identities were replaced after only a relatively short life. A few companies erroneously seem to think it is good business to change their identities regularly, even if their existing identities are working well, like some bizarre concept of corporate image hygiene. They change their identities like some change their clothes. Some corporations rebrand themselves after a restructuring or merger, but the majority of companies that change their identities have discovered through experience that their identities are illegible in certain situations, or that they cost more than they should to reproduce, or that they begin to look dated. In other words, their identities just don't work like they should. Most identities that are replaced fall into this latter category. The biggest reason why identities don't work is that they don't conform to the core principles of identity design. Unlike logo examples in preceding videos, where possible, I have placed not only the year of the identity's adoption, but also the year when the identity was replaced by another identity that was substantially different or had significant refinements. While those replacements were not always improvements, it is still an indication of those clients' dissatisfaction with the identity as it was. Single dates show when the identity was adopted, indicating that it is either still in use or was used until some corporate change such as a merger. Walter Landor, 1913 to 1995, and Landor Associates. Born Walter Landauer in Munich, Germany, he moved to San Francisco in 1939 and founded Landor Associates in 1941. Educated in London before moving to the States, he became at age 23 the youngest fellow to date of the Royal Society of the Arts. His company has designed identities for hundreds of entities, including a number for airlines. Many of Landor's designs have lasted 2 to 5 decades, and most of these conform to the core principles that I teach. Other identities were rather short-lived, perhaps because of the company's earlier tendency to use current or trendy typefaces which soon become dated. The company has offices around the world and many designers. Lyndon Leader began his career working for Saul Bass, then came to Landor, where he designed the FedEx identity. He now heads Leader Creative. Wolfolins. Michael Wolf and Wally Olins founded Wolfolins in 1965 in London. Since then, it has grown to be a large brand consultancy firm with offices in London, New York, and San Francisco. While they have produced many identities that have lasted a long time, they have regularly produced work that has been controversial and also ineffectual. Again, we see that those identities that have been replaced the quickest are invariably the ones that don't conform to the core principles. Pentagram, New York City. Unlike most of the other companies in this section, Pentagram is not a corporation where designers are hired to work for the firm, but a group of individual designers who operate independently, but collaborate with each other, especially on big projects. Designers in this studio have come and gone. When there is a vacancy, the remaining designers will collectively invite a new designer to join their ranks as a full partner, among whom there is no seniority observed. It is a collective of equals. Founded in London, it has 4 offices worldwide, with the biggest studio in New York City. Interbrand. John Murphy and his wife opened Novamark in 1974 in New York, and changed its name to Interbrand 5 years later. Now the company has offices in 5 other cities around the world. Of their brands shown here that are over 10 years old, over half of them have been replaced or modified. Lippincott. Donald R. Donor and J. Gordon Lippincott founded Donor and Lippincott in 1943. It has become one of the world's most successful brand strategy agencies. Based in New York, this firm has also been known as Lippincott and Margulies, as well as Lippincott Mercer in the past. Lippincott has done more solid work that conforms to the core principles of identity design than any other agency in this video, and as a result have had longer lasting brands. What is the takeaway from all this? That there are indeed core principles of identity design, and if they are violated, an identity will fail in areas where it ought to work. It will be broken in some way and will not serve the client well. Even if the designers don't recognize this, the clients over time usually will see it and will get a new identity. These companies employ a wide variety of professionals, from brand strategists to social media masters, from positioning experts to retail and consumer goods specialists. They offer motion graphics and video packaging and copywriting, and of course they have graphic designers who specialize in branding. But if all of that auxiliary skill is applied to a brand design that does not conform to the core principles, they are building on a flawed foundation. These companies want to be known as innovators. That may prod them to try things that ought not to be done to an identity. What could work beautifully as an app icon may not work as a brand design. Corporate brand designs may share some characteristics with certain app icons, but they are not the same thing. This is a course on corporate identity design. When you consider the logo designs of these companies, there are many excellent ones to point to. There are also some problematic ones. Each one of these agencies have had designs that just didn't work as corporate identities. It seems to be hit and miss. How can that be with designers that should be the most capable branding design firms on the planet? Because they do not understand the core principles of identity design. Now we've finished the sections on foundational principles of graphic design and branding fundamentals. Next, we'll finally get to those core principles I've been talking about. For more information, go to logodesigntheory.com. If you found this useful, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and share it with anyone who needs to know about logo design.